It's time for a good old-fashioned Q&A, MMA
Oh, yeah.
fans.
Let's stretch. It's the 7th inning stretch.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived to hear from the man himself, Ariel Helwani.
Oh, yeah.
Live from the
Is this a
Box
good vantage
Studios
point?
in beautiful New York City.
Beautiful New York City.
On the nose.
On the nose.
And now,
Bathroom
to
break?
answer your
No, we don't
questions,
take bathroom breaks
get out
here.
of your seats and on your feet because here he is, Ariel Helwani.
Here I am. Thank you, Mike Heck. Thank you for that. All right, let's answer some questions. No time to waste. Everyone knows the drill. Everyone's favorite segment of the week. We go to the Substack page and we load the comments, and the comments are always great. We go chronological, and of course, El Cubano is first. Just get comfortable here. Take another sip of water if I can. I'm going to turn around so I don't bother Frank. Beautiful day in Brooklyn, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw it. Sunny. Put on the Virna hat. How great was Al, by the way, right? I mean, Al was just amazing. Whew. That Katie Taylor, that Conor McGregor, the Pesci, De Niro, Tyson Fury, so good. John Fury, so good. Oh. Okay. El Cubano. Hola, Ariel. What? A new one? Wow. Weber came in. But no, I got to go back. Weber came in somehow. He just did it right now. My good friend Alex Weber. And it came up on top. But here we go. El Cubano. Hola, Ariel. Although you already hinted towards it on Monday, Covington Masvidal was officially announced as the main event for UFC 272. Well, I guess technically they didn't put it out on their official channels, but they announced it. We all know the score. First and foremost, let's go Jorge. He's saying that. Secondly, what a shame the fight won't go down in Miami. Amen. What a shame. While I'd love to see Poirier Diaz as the co-main event, I don't see Nate taking a fight under Masvidal headline card, not to mention the contract issues. That's a bingo. Hypothetically speaking, who do you see as the co-main for UFC 272? I mean, look, historically, when you have these big fights where guys are making a lot of money, the co-mains aren't the biggest. Is it going to be a Kevin Holland? I think they could probably, but time is ticking. One thing so I don't know what is the quote-unquote co-main. I don't get caught up, in the co-main stuff all that much because, sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. Sometimes you'll get Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno 3, and sometimes you'll get, who knows? Random stuff. Sean McCorkle against, who did Sean McCorkle fight in Montreal that one time? Stefan Struve underneath the Josh Koscheck, George St. Pierre fight. That being said, no, Nathan would never fight under Jorge. And let's see. I still think it's, it's still up in the air whether or not he, stays, goes. Wouldn't be surprised if he stays, to be honest, as I've said since the beginning. And I don't think we see him until his deal is done. And at this point, maybe you see him in April. May's going to, the clock is ticking. But I don't think you see him on that Jorge card. Hamza Burns would be April 9th. This from Alex. Good luck to your Bills. Thank you very much. Have you turned your kids into Bulls and Knicks fans? Bulls? You mean Bills? Or saving them from that trauma? No, we are. When my kids were young, for some reason, they enjoyed going against me. They enjoyed rooting against me. And it was very frustrating. It was honestly like a little bit like, wow, the dream of being a dad and, your kids following your favorite teams is no more. And I was a little bit sad about it. But as they've gotten older, my oldest son is in 4th grade, middle son's 2nd grade. My daughter is in pre-K, but she kind of just follows. She's actually the one that tries to go against me the most these days. So maybe it's just like a young kid thing. The two boys have now fully followed my lead. They're Bulls fans. He wrote Bulls. Bills fans. They will never be Bulls fans. They are Bills fans. They are Knicks fans. Right now we cheer for the Blue Jays and, of course, the Montreal Canadiens in hockey, who are not having a good season at all. I'm very nervous for Saturday, not so much because I don't think the Bills will win. In fact, between the Bills and the Chargers, between the Pats and the Chargers, I was kind of rooting for the Pats because I want that revenge. And, I remember, and, the Chargers would have been fine too, going to the weather in Buffalo from the West Coast all the way, and the young-ish quarterback, Justin Herbert, although I think Herbert's way better than Mac Jones. there was once a time where Dana White and I used to text quite often, and he would send me these very sort of, for lack of a better word, obnoxious texts when the Pats would continuously beat the Bills. Videos, ha ha, laughing. Oh my, that would be some sweet revenge. That would be some sweet revenge to knock them out of the playoffs. Zach Payne, good morning, Ariel. My question this week is, do we ever see any of these people like Max Holloway go to boxing? Call me a casual, but the whole I'm the best boxer in the UFC really doesn't matter considering it's MMA. I have no doubt Nathan goes to boxing, but what about Max? I don't see it happening anytime soon. Max is treated well by the UFC. He likes being in the UFC. Of course, now injured, so I don't see it happening anytime soon. This week's handicap, also he has several fights left. This week's handicapped hot take for you is Miesha Tate will retire for good later this year after getting 10-7 by lucky Lauren Murphy. Wow. Multiple hot takes there. The retirement and the loss to Murphy, which I don't necessarily agree with. Retirement, I mean, that could come at any time, but I wonder if there's odds for that. Are there odds for that? I wonder. Hey, Ariel, new subscriber here. Just want to thank you first for being one of the main reasons why I got into MMA during the pandemic, and I always look forward to tuning in every week. This is from Rye Guy. As someone attending college and fall for sports media, what advice would you give to help make connections in the sports world and build trust? I feel like you'd be the perfect person to ask because the amount of professional potential guests you have for your show every week. Well, when I got to Syracuse University, I was working on... I was working at 3 different radio stations. There was one WAER, there was one WERW, and then there was one Z89. AER is where all the, the kids that wanted to be broadcasters went. They all just wanted to, that's the place that broadcasts Syracuse basketball and football, and there's a whole system. I didn't like it. It felt a little too restrictive. It felt like a country club. It just wasn't my thing. I don't know. I just didn't fit in. I never kind of liked to follow the pack. Z89 was a music station, and I got in trouble because I would talk too long. So it would basically be like, okay, you got to put in this thing, and there's a 15-second pad, and you got to say, coming up next, it's Blink 182. What's my age again? And you're listening to Z89 here in Syracuse, New York, something like that. Well, I would go on for 3-4 minutes and talk about the Yankees game the night before and talk about the Knicks. And they're like, yeah, you can't do that. Like, this is in sports talk radio. So I went to WERW, and I would urge you all to find a WERW, which was basically a place where you went to a room. There's a sheet of paper. I picked a time. It was, I think, 9 to 11 or 8 to 10 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. And I just got to do it. It's just airtime. It was free airtime. And I got to basically do this show. I started reaching out to fighters and fight personalities and reporters, and I would send them emails and they would come on, or I would go on MySpace and they would reply. And I was basically doing this show back in 2001. Of course, now I have access to more people, but the show hasn't changed. I kid you not. It's the exact damn same show that I did 20 years ago, which is a crazy thing. And so I would urge you to go find your spot, go find the station that you feel most comfortable in. Think of what you want to do. Reach out to as many people as possible. Be as professional as possible. Make good connections. Make people want to come back on your show. Work hard. Work even harder. Use social media to your advantage. Intern as many places as possible. Say hello to as many people as possible. Reach out to as many people as possible. There's no real great answer, and it's all very, I think, self-explanatory. You just got to do it, and don't be impatient. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to build yourself up. There's a lot of people in your spot who want to do what you want to do, but if you look around and you find a unique voice and you're doing things a little bit differently, you'll be able to stick out. This is from Sean. Morning CEO Changs. Thank you. How is the Donna of MMA out here breaking Roman Reigns news? Man just said, I'm going to be the best journalist in all sports. No question. Just love ya, King. Stay homeless. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, listen, when you got connects, you break stuff. By the way, I could have broken a few NBA and NFL stories back in the day as well, but I don't want to step on people's toes. Hugo. Hello, Ariel. Who do you think would make good, tough coaches? What? Hugo, suggest Nate and Connor. Are you kidding me? Please no. No. Please no more tough. No more. No one wants tough. No one's asking for tough. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't increase the interest in a fight. It doesn't make new stars. Name me. I mean, what happened to the one guy who just won tough? Like, come on. You have Contender Series. Enough with tough. Please. Now, I know why they do it. The ESPN UFC deal is going great, and the UFC content on ESPN Plus, the MMA content does well. But we got to think of something else. We've got to think of something else. We've got to think of a new format. We have to. So, no one. Could you see Dustin Nate from Tyler being added to the 3-5 card? No. Good morning, Ariel. Question on Khamzat. Ramadan starts April 2nd, which in theory would eliminate any and all April fights. Are they booking for March? Much love. That's interesting. I didn't put 2 and 2 together there. So perhaps not. No. Maybe they move it to March. It's a great call. Great job, Matt. Maybe they move that one to March. Want to see that fight. Love that fight. Maybe they move to March. Joe, what are some of the tactics the UFC will use to scare fighters' media into not talking about fighter pay? I mean, I don't think they'll use any tactics. To media, I mean, the media, you know the ones that are going to talk about it and you know the ones that aren't. You know that by now. Fighters, I feel like we know the ones who are going to talk about it and we know the ones who aren't. Like the ones who are comfortable enough to talk about it. It's no different than any walk of life and any job. The ones who are secure in their spot are going to be more vocal. The ones who aren't. So I don't think there'll be any quote unquote tactics, to be honest. Jacob, Ariel, thank you so much for being the reason I'm excited for Mondays and Wednesdays. Wow, thank you. Since Brooklyn isn't likely for 273, what are the most likely options for the event? As a Miami Dolphins fan, I can't root for the Bills or Pats, but I hope the result makes you happy Saturday. Thank you, Jacob. I haven't heard anything yet on terms of location. I wish it was Miami 305 and Vegas April 9th, but I haven't heard anything yet. Favorite segment of the week. 2 quick questions and 1 request from Patrick. 1, you mentioned last week that 3 Pac will be on the road at some point in 2022. Is this true? And if so, possibly a fan event as well? TBD. 2, were you ever able to squash your beef with Cowboy Cerrone? Does he have beef with me still? Maybe, but I haven't reached out to him. Do I have beef with him? No. Cowboy got mad at me because I said something before. I think it was the Conor. No, he was trying to get the Conor fight. And I was saying, like, where's the old Cowboy? We need the old Cowboy. I was basically trying to do the promo that Vince McMahon gave Stone Cold Steve Austin during the invasion in 2001, where he's like, we need the old Stone Cold. We need the old. And I was trying to do that. He took it the wrong way and got really mad and said some things. And then I saw him in Chicago and I went up to him and he didn't want to talk to me. So no beef here. If he has beef, I don't know. But yeah, in my mind, it's squashed. Life's too short for this nonsense. Come on. AJ, hug, marry, avoid. Wow. Look at this question. GC, New York Rick, or Mysterious Frank? I mean, what am I supposed to do here, guys? I'm not even sure if the guys are still there anymore. They might have left. I might be driving this car by myself. You guys are still there? Hug, marry, avoid, GC, New York Rick, and Mysterious Frank. What kind of a question is this from AJ?
You've never seen one of these before?
Well, I've heard of F, marry, kill, not hug, marry, avoid.
Well, I'm sure they were trying to be PG about it.
All right. Well, New York Rick has he's just nominated himself to be killed. He said, just kill me.
So we've just upgraded this from this guy's question to...
Yeah, because there was, I guess, avoid. He says he gives me permission. And then it's either between hugging or, I mean, it's too tough. It's too tough.
I love how Rick is like, you could just kill me.
Zach weighs in here. You hug Mysterious Frank, you marry GC, and you avoid New York Rick and his horrible takes. Wow.
Oh, that's rude.
Wow. Will, do you think the UFC and Francis Ngannou will come to terms on a new deal before the fight? No. Or will we see a scenario where Francis wins, blows a kiss to Dana, and runs through the crowd with the title? That would be incredible. CM Punk-esque. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think based on what happens in the fight, we'll determine. If he loses, by the way, he could stay. And if he wins, he could stay. And by the way, if he wins, he doesn't get to leave right away. It's end of the year. There's still the Champions Clause. So none of that is going to go down in less than 2 weeks. But before the fight, highly doubt it. Could happen. Highly doubt it. Have you been following the Novak Djokovic situation down under? A little bit, and it's wild. It's freaking wild, man. It's scary what is happening to this world. It really is. Like, I just want us to go back to, can we go back to 2 years ago, pre all of this? That's what I want. Can we go back to just normal life, as normal as it was? It wasn't the greatest. There were still issues, but this is all just very scary. And I don't really know where I fall on that whole Novak Djokovic thing. It does seem a little excessive, but if there's lying involved and this and that, I don't know. Craziness. The whole thing is crazy. As a fan, and by the way, GC, big Novak fan, so I'm sure he's... my son's friend is calling me right now, probably to play on Minecraft or something. As a fan who buys all the pay-per-views, why is it that after their best year, they raise the price again and the fighters don't even get a scratch of it? By the way, love the show. Yeah, great question. Don't ask me that question. I'm not the one to answer it. I already weighed in on this. Why? Why do they do it? Because no one does anything back. No one seems to mind. So why wouldn't they? Thoughts on having an honorary champion Hall of Fame of to retirees who never won a title, like Florian, Overeem, Benavidez? Yeah, sure. I mean, but they would just induct them anyway. I don't think you need to be a champion to get inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. I don't think you should be. Hey, Ariel, your boy Rahman from Atlanta, back in your life, wanted to get your thoughts on the ever-changing landscape of MMA with WWE finally opening up the forbidden door to Impact. Very cool. Mickey James. Would it be possible for the UFC to open their doors to cross-promotion? No. I mean, I shouldn't say no, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. They are so far and ahead. And by the way, I know WWE is so far and ahead of Impact. They need her. She has a history. It's the Rumble. It's hard to compare apples to apples there. It's just too hard. So now, I would love to see PFL and Bellator come together. PFL signs Kayla Harrison and does a deal with Bellator, and they do like a 2-fight series, and it's like Kayla versus Cyborg in Bellator, and then Cyborg versus Kayla in PFL, like something like that. I think the other promotions should be open to it, but UFC, tough. What criteria goes into deciding whether or not someone gets inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame? From Matt in Montreal. Standing with the UFC, career. I mean, there really isn't a criteria. They tried to break it down into these 4 categories, but there's no real criteria. There's no committee. There's no voting. There's none of that. Gavin, hello from Ireland, Ariel. Happy New Year, and thanks for bringing the MMA Bauer. Trying to go through these fast, and then I end up stumbling. Hello from Ireland, Ariel. Happy New Year, and thanks for bringing the MMA Hour back for us all. My question is, will your memoir at the end of your career still be called Highway to Helwani, or now that you have become more unfiltered, do you have a different name in mind? I think I got to stick with Highway to Helwani, if only because I've said it so many times over the years. I've thought about starting it this year, but it feels too soon. I need to do better at like recording my thoughts and remembering things, because I think I took for granted that I would remember everything, and now I'm starting to worry that I'm not going to remember everything. And let me tell you, a lot of crap happened. Matt, Ariel, follow-up. How many UFC employees do you think are founding members? Do you think Dana pays people to transcribe? I'm sure it's a coincidence that every time you drop a niblet about a fight, it's announced later, hours later. I don't know. I've never looked at the emails, honestly. And I hope they are subscribers, and I hope they follow all my work. Well, I know I definitely know on Twitter they do, and that's fine. Why wouldn't you? All right. Killishaw. Good morning, Ariel. Congrats on the Bills winning the series. Come on, Killishaw. You know better than that. With Colby Jorge finally being announced, how deep do you feel this rivalry really goes? Would love nothing more to see it end in bromance, referee permitting, but feels like this has become very personal. On a side note, today's National Chicken Curry Day. What is your favorite chicken curry or even Indian food place in New York? Would love to break naan someday with GC or TST, who offered me a place he did. Thank you. I don't have a favorite Indian place in New York. Anyone back there have a favorite Indian place in New York?
Bombay Kitchen is pretty good.
Where's that?
There's actually a few. I think they're a smaller chain in New York.
Okay. The funny thing about the Jorge Colby fight, the rivalry was so intense and so heated, and there's a great backstory. And then I think it cooled, and they're both coming off losses to the same guy, and Jorge's coming off his first finish. And I think, honestly, a part of the rivalry and a part of the people's interest in the rivalry was the fact that Colby was the Trump guy and Jorge, in their mind, wasn't. And then they find out that Jorge is, and maybe even more so, and perhaps more genuinely a Trump guy. And then I think everyone got confused. So I'm really curious about this one and how it does. And I don't think they'll be loving each other, behind the scenes, but they know each other and they're good friends. And sometimes those are the most bitter rivals. I don't know if we'll see that moment like we saw with, Colby and Usman. Hey, I was just trying to sell the fight. Got something from Tucker here about the ADA NYC. ADA NYC looks fantastic in Queens. Go check it out. ADA, ADDA. Thank you very much. Tucker's always got the restaurant recommendations, which we appreciate. I'm very hungry right now. John, of course we want the fight to happen, but I do think that either Masvidal or Colby drop out and end up not fighting. No, why would you put that out there? Does Leon accept the fight against either guy? No. Leon, Usman, Colby, Jorge. Everyone wins. Why is this flyweight trilogy not being talked about enough? I don't know. I think next week we'll get, what fights are talked about? I don't know. There's just not a ton of promotion going on. It's just week to week. This week it's Giga and Calvin. Next week it'll be those guys. Newman. Hello, Ariel. Hello, Newman. TJ Dillashaw has said that he expects to return in early 2022 and he wants to fight for the title next. After beating Sandhagen, is he the clear number one contender in the division? Yeah, probably. That fight's going to happen in April. He might have to fight someone else, because then it's not going to be early 2022 anymore. I wouldn't hate if he takes a fight against someone like Jose Aldo, even Dom again. But at this point, if that fight's happening April 9th, they're not fighting till July or August at the earliest. Preston, Ariel, does fewer but more stacked UFC cards lead to us as viewers feeling drained before the main event, much like 268? No, I don't think so. I don't agree with that. Carmine, Happy New Year, my friend. 2 quick ones. What's the latest on Zabit? Nothing. No latest. Has there ever been a champion who has botched it as much as Aljo has? His videos, posts, I think he's trying too hard. I think people feel a certain way about him. Maybe not the best way, but not the way and the approach I would have taken. But there have been some bad champions out there, some champions that didn't, Nico Montano didn't really connect with the audience, right? I think people forget. Worst retirement ever, Cejudo. Hey, Ariel, any update on Diaz-Poirier? Again, nothing yet. Nothing yet. Still talking. Maybe later this year. We shall see, but it doesn't happen before his situation is figured out. Top of the morning, Ariel. Now with it clear we won't be seeing Colby and Jorge in Tough. Any word on who could be coaches? Not yet. When the hell is Tough happening? I don't know. Why do you think, Ariel, Masvidal doesn't get the credit he deserves? The guy's a superstar, and also many are forgetting how good he actually is. Super talented fighter. People don't recognize him. No, I think he's getting think he's become a big draw, and he's getting to headline a show as a non-champion against another non-champion. He's coming off a knockout loss. Your stock takes a bit of a hit. Keep up the great work. Need you on McAfee show. Yeah, McAfee. What's up with Patrick McAfee just giving me the stiff arm? Ever since, I don't even know what it was. Wait, was it ever since I ripped him off the wall? It might have actually been that. All right, fine. Be that way. Didn't put me in the year-end video. Didn't give me the shine. Didn't put me on when, I don't know, when the Bills were winning, the Colts were out. Didn't, what? It's a bunch of haters over there. It's all good. I got AJ Hawk. Ariel, have you an update on a fight for Tom Aspinall? Will you get a big fight for UFC London? I think he'll be on that card, but no update on who he will face. Do you foresee any scenario where Francis resigns with UFC and is allowed to compete against Tyson Fury? Yes, because they both are in business with ESPN. Hey, Ariel, he's got some leverage if he wins. Massive leverage. Mark, hey, Ariel, just recently joined the Substack and enjoyed the 2 Cents Tuesday. I've got a question about the UFC's return. Thank you. To Brazil. The last time the promotion went to Brazil with fans allowed to attend was for Blachowicz, Jacare, November 2019. I would love for the UFC to return in springtime to Brazil. Yes, there's been some talk of May. that would be 274. And he lays out these fights. Oliveira, Gaethje, brilliant. Teixeira, Yuri, brilliant. Peña, Nunes, brilliant. Although I don't think they're putting all three of those. That would be crazy. No. Cruz Aldo, maybe. If they put Oliveira, Gaethje, and Teixeira finally gets to go back home as champion, that would be pretty damn cool. Peña, Nunes, I don't think happens in Brazil. I'm sorry. I'd be totally down with that. Mark, as a longtime listener to the show, I was extremely excited when New York Rick returned home. GC's segment has been an excellent addition too, and I think he adds another wonderful personality to the fold. But would you consider having another weekly segment with an actual MMA fighter? Hear me out. You have 5-minute roundup of the news. Yeah, this has been brought up. Arnold Allen. I like having them on as guests. He says this would be a great way of truly moving on from that chump DC. It's been brought up, but I like having the freedom of picking and choosing and not being locked into someone. My man, from my good friend Lewis, my question touches on a topic you briefly mentioned last week. For fighters that are engaging in combat sports outside of their contract, is the juice worth the squeeze? Magny championed for a fight with Khamzat and was largely ignored. He then loses at Fury Grappling and feels completely off the radar. Flip side, Khamzat wrestles and beats Jack Hermanson, and it only helps his stock. Whilst these wins / defeats don't impact their record, it leaves an impact on their standing in the mind space. What are your thoughts? Much love. It's every day, bro. I get what you're saying. I don't think those events are seen by enough people to where it truly affects your momentum. Maybe for the bosses it does, but I would say it is worthy of the squeeze because, let's be honest, there's money to be made and they're making some money. So I would say for them it is worth the squeeze. You get a few thousand to compete in a match and not get punched. It's not bad. Who do you believe is the best pound-for-pound fighter in each men's weight division of the UFC if it is not the current champion of said division already? Who do you believe is the best pound-for-pound fighter in each men's weight class of the UFC? It is not the current champion of said division. I basically want to know who you believe, based on the eye test alone, is destined to rise to the top of the division sooner or later. Tough one. I mean, you know the guys. Islam, Khamzat. Can't go through all of them right now. Running out of time. Josh, any insight into what injury Max suffered? I do know, but I was told off the record, so I can't share. Hey, Ariel, can we get a Helwani response to Dillon, please? He keeps going. Does he keep going? Does he really keep going? I don't know. I muted his ass a long time ago, and he keeps trying to hit me up on burner cell phone accounts, and I keep blocking those too. I will say it's sad behavior, especially when, you have to go to other people to come up with your content. You're putting up these pictures. It's funny to me that the one thing he keeps going back on is me crying on air when, bro, you're a jiu-jitsu black belt. You just got submitted by Paul Blart. You got submitted by a guy in the Jersey Shore who's standing outside of a bar. You're a jiu-jitsu black belt. How you are still keeping up with this routine and this act is beyond me. And I tried to help him. I tried my best. So I got no response. I've already responded. Enough. I'm over this. And again, I'll say, everyone's like, oh, you're such a tough guy, this and that. I don't respond to these people unless I'm provoked 10 times. And then I finally break. I'm not going out there picking fights with jabrones left and right. I'm not going out there picking fights with fighters. I would never do that. But, you got these guys who are bored, who've got nothing else going on, who are at home, who sit on their phone and refresh Twitter over and over again and refresh Instagram and slide in people's DMs and do God knows what else. And they've got nothing else to get their mind off of things. And they partake in behavior like this. And so after 10 times, I'll respond. I'll play. And it'll be someone like Dillon. It'll be someone who's 65 like Campbell McLaren, who spreads lies and talks shit about me and makes up stories about the one time that he was on the show 5.5 years ago and says that he called me an effing idiot and all that stuff when it never happened. And then I'll come out and I'll invite him on and he won't take it and he won't come on. And then I'll call him on his lies and his team will text me behind the scenes and say, oh, he's just having some fun and da-da-da-da-da and come out to the event and all that stuff. Guys, wrong guy, wrong time in my life. Enough. But I'll only respond if I'm provoked first. And it's not even first. It's probably like the 5th time. the 6th time, the 7th time. I just think it's sad when people need other people to do the battles for them. Like, it's Twitter, guys. It's not that difficult. I'm just a guy with skinny arms. You can't go toe-to-toe with me? You can't respond to me without having to tap in someone else to come up with content? It's sad. Dillon, I would say you haven't fought in 2.5 years. Get back to doing what you're doing. And if you can't fight anymore, then move on to something else. But this can't be a productive way to live your life. No one likes you. No one's rooting for you. Conor has separated himself from you. The whole team is separated. Who's coming to your defense? And I actually kind of like him. He's been on the show. I'm saying this as a friend. Well, not anymore. Now he just annoyed me. But I had no beef. Everyone else hated him. I kind of like the shtick. Now it's gone way overboard. And it's just kind of sad at this point. So, is that a response? I don't know if that was a response, but I'm done with responding. Stop asking me about him. Hey, Ariel, new year, new restaurant. What's the recommendation? P.S. Very interesting how a certain old friend of yours shared the news right after 2 Cents Tuesday. They even used the same thumbnail. Ha! Did I ever say Beyoğlu on 73rd and 1st? It's a great Turkish restaurant. That's my recommendation, Mike. Hi, Ariel. Long-time listener. Just a couple more here. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I know this is an absolutely loaded question. Oh, God. But I'm wondering how, in your opinion, the dynamic between the UFC and the media is similar and different from the other major sports. Is it true the UFC goes way beyond other leagues in controlling the narrative, or does it just seem that way because the other leagues hide it better? Probably ignorant on my part, but I was shocked by Adam Schefter's email to WFT GM calling him Mr. Editor, sending a draft story, but wouldn't be surprised at all if certain MMA journalists gave Dana veto power over their work. Obviously, you refused to bend the knee and got unfairly bullied. A shame. Anyways, love your content and thanks for the opportunity to ask. I mean, it's different. The one thing that I'll say that is vastly different is like they all have like associations for the media, and those have been around a lot longer than ours, the MMAJ, that we're just still trying to get off the ground. It's still a thing, contrary to what people have thought and said, we're still a thing. And so there are some standards and practices and things are run a lot more professionally, but there is stuff like that happens all the time. And I think there are people that are on television and in the media that are journalists, claim to be journalists. And people have loved to say this about me, which is hilarious. Because, I mean, I don't know how many journalists who have taken the shots that I have over the years and fairly, unfairly, and it's fine, not complaining. But I'm saying there's a lot of people who kind of play the part and aren't actually doing the job. So I don't know. I don't know if you're getting what I'm trying to say, but the point is, the relationship between the UFC and the media has never been great. It dates back many, many years before even like the current team was in place. I've never understood it. It took me 2 years to get in, and for no reason other than when I first got into this game, the PR staff was so rude to me, so mean to me. Like, I wish I could probably find those emails. Treated me like I was dirt. So rude. And then it was Kevin Aioli who went to bat for me and got me in and all that stuff. And then there were, the ups and downs and all that. I've never understood the idea of being contentious towards the media. Now, you can want certain things and want to break certain things. I get that. But to go out of your way to be rude, to be, cold, all that, like, I've never understood that thought process. Never understood that. If you are nice to media, they're going to be nice back to you. It's just human nature. And it's always been frosty and contentious. And maybe it's because they want a certain kind of media. And maybe that's what they have. And everyone's happy. Hi, Ariel. I have 2 questions today. Do you think Colby, win or lose, should move up to 185? Not necessarily. I mean, if he loses, maybe. Do you have an update on Tatiana Suarez? No, but I would like to get an update, and I will reach out to her. Happy Wednesday, Ariel. Amazing interview on Monday to give some insight into reffing. Is it possible to share the link to the video? Well, you go on his website. We put the link, goddardmma.com. I can't post the actual video because he wants you to pay for it. Regards to Mark Hunt, did you reach out to the UFC, or did the UFC reach out before or after the interview for comments on the lawsuit? Come on, Bubba. Who does Jake Paul have a better chance of beating, Anderson Silva or Nathan Diaz? And by the way, I would happily reach out. When I was at ESPN, I would reach out all the time and I would just not get a response. Who does Jake Paul have a better chance? I should say, I'd say 50-50. 40-60. Who does Jake Paul have a better chance of beating, Anderson Silva or Nathan Diaz? God. Good luck to your Bills. Anderson has boxed before. Hey, Ariel, hope all is well with Colby Masvidal being made official. It finally feels like the top welterweights are finally willing to fight each other again. Do you have any info on the rest? Nothing on Bilal, Burns, Luque, maybe. No, Burns, Khamzat, maybe Bilal, Luque. And then he asks if any update on Francis. No update yet. Happy Wednesday from Idaho. Do you really believe Charles versus Conor is a real possibility? I mean, with Conor, never say never, but right now, no. Of course, Charles is hyping it up, but right now I think it's a long shot. Do you think an honorary WC belt for Aldo Cruz is a good idea? Nah, I don't really care. Let's just, and I think he means Aldo Cruz. Oh, Aldo Cruz. Yeah, it would be fun, but whatever. I don't really get too hot over those belts. Second question, Campbell McLaren says, you don't talk about Combate. How come and what's his beef with you? I mean, here's my one question that I would ask Combate and Campbell. They say that their ratings are great. I have no beef with them whatsoever. He was on the show one time and he said, our goal is going to be that we are going to cater to the Hispanic market. And I asked why. And that was it. And he has taken such great offense. By the way, I asked questions, follow up, who, what, where, why? Why that theory? Why did you come up with that? Why that organization? Why that gimmick? Why that game plan? Why that? That's it. Not because I disagreed, but because I was asking a follow-up question. And he has taken that and ran with it and incessantly tweeted at me and called me names and insulted me and this and that and this and that to the point where I had to mute him. And then someone sent me him calling me an effing idiot or 2 days ago. And I was like, where was I when you called me an effing idiot? Because it certainly wasn't on this show. It wasn't to me, tough guy. And so here's the question that I would ask Campbell, Micah Fromwitz, Combate, all of them. You guys have been around several years, and I have respect for you. I think Campbell doesn't like the fact that he doesn't get the respect that he deserves for being a part of the early days of the UFC, and he wants that respect, he wants that love, and he wants respect for coming back and doing Combate. He wants that, and that's fine. He could want that. But let me ask you guys one question. For the amount of years that you've been around, 5, 6, 7 years, talk about all the ratings you want, give me one name, one star that you've built. One star. Give me one star. Do me this favor. Give me one semi-star. Give me a draw. Who's one person that your organization has built? One person that your organization has built. Give me that name. Thunder Rosa, who was 0-1 now, is an actual star with AEW? Is that the one? Give me one star. Tito Ortiz? Alberto Del Rio? How did that do? Give me one star. One draw. One star. I have no issues. They had that tournament on a Sunday night after a UFC pay-per-view. Malambo won. Respect. There's only so much time. I've already gone over today, and we only had 5 guests. Just give me one star, one name. One. Can anyone else give me one? Someone in the chat? Someone on Slack? One draw that they've built. One freaking star, a semi-star that they've built. And so they could tout their Univision rating. I mean, that would be like someone touting their ratings on Fox or CBS or NBC. There's an inherent number there, a built-in number there, because you're on such a big network. Credit to you, respect. That's going to come with that. But pay-per-view tickets, like how's that going? One star. That's all I ask. Just one. Just one. One star. Have I repeated that enough? One. Because he gets so upset. Why don't you talk about us? Why don't you talk about us? Why don't you talk about... Well, give us a reason to talk about you. Give us a reason to talk about you. UFC gives us reasons to talk about them. Bellator gives us reasons to talk about them. PFL gives us... One Championship gives us... Give us a reason to talk about you. It's not a beef. I'll talk about it. If there's been one guy in this game that has advocated for more promotions, more organizations, more options for fighters, it's me. Give us a reason to talk about you. Not your ratings, not whatever you're doing on Univision. Give us names, give us fighters, give us stories, give us an emotional attachment. That's my request. Okay. Damn. There's a lot here. I'm not going to get to all of these. Shoosh. There's a lot here. I'll pick 3 more. I'm sorry. We've just gone so long, and I'm not going to get to all of these. Maybe I'll get to them on Monday. Favorite podcasts to listen to? That's a good one from Perry. I really love Wrestling with Freddie. That's a great one. I I listened to Lebitard. I just got a text here from Top Rank about, I guess, Terrence Crawford has filed a lawsuit against Top Rank. And did that just happen? Did I miss that? Anyway, this is the quote from Bob. Bud Crawford's lawsuit against Top Rank is frivolous. His vile accusations of racism are reckless and indefensible. He knows it, and his lawyer knows it. I've spent my entire working life as a champion of black boxers, Latino boxers, and other boxers of color. I have no doubt the court will see Crawford's case for the malicious extortion attempt that it is. Dang. Well, thank you for that. I was just going to pull up my my podcast here. Sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm keeping you too long. I listen to Smartless sometimes. I listen to the Lebitard show. I like Cheap Heat is a lot of fun. McAfee Oral Sessions with Renee Paquette. I listen to a lot of Buffalo Bills stuff. Shout with my guys, Matt Perino and Ryan Talbot. Love South Beach Sessions. I like the sports media ones a little bit sometimes. Bill Simmons, of course. Yeah, those are some that come to mind. The Sportsnet pods are great. What are you hearing on Nick Diaz? Not much at the moment. Any interest in NFTs? No. As a newer Canadian MMA fan, can you describe the atmosphere in Canada when GSP was champ, especially when he fought in Canada? Oh my. We'll end on this one. It was great. It was great. It was magical. UFC 83, first fight there, was just an amazing scene, a beautiful scene. I actually wasn't at that fight because it was Passover, but I watched it and it was incredible. Matt Serra was so loud. And then I was at every single other one in Montreal and then, of course, in Toronto. Just like I remember I was on CBC, the national broadcaster, before the Koscheck fight. It was so loud. The place was packed. Skydome, Rogers Center, 55,000. It was just special. He was beloved. He represented Canada in the best way. Everyone came from all over Canada. It was a party. It was a big deal. It was special. It was unique. It was an event. Some of my favorite memories were covering GSP fights in Montreal. 124 was great. The Diaz fight was great. The Condit fight was great. 24 was actually bigger. It felt bigger than those, believe it or not. And then, of course, 129 in Toronto was great as well. So I'm sorry if I couldn't get to all the questions. I will make it up to you. I will do my best to answer as many as possible, but we went a little long, and I don't want to keep everyone. Everyone's probably mad. Are you guys mad at me back there? I mean, I feel like everyone's just kind of mad at me at this point, and so I don't.
Not at all.
All right. Well, I feel like we have. I feel like we've, we've worn out our welcome. I am curious about this Terrence Crawford thing, just real quick here, because that was an incredible. Terrence Crawford. This is from Mike Coppinger of ESPN. Welterweight champion Terrence Crawford filed a lawsuit Wednesday against his former promoter, Top Rank in Nevada, alleging racial bias on the part of the company's chairman, Bob Arum. Wow. I mean, I know Bob has promoted a ton of black Latino boxers, as he said in that statement. So this is going to get ugly. And the worst part about it, if you're a boxing fan, hopefully it doesn't hold up the potential of seeing a Crawford-Spence fight. I don't think it should, but I don't know. Because I think he was done with them, right? We talked about it when he was on the show. All right. Thank you to everyone who left questions. I appreciate you all. I will make it up to you, I promise. And we're out of time.